ultimate fishing authority in the Northeast, the Fisherman magazine.
No guessing, just catching. New Explore Series fish finders keep you locked on fish with unbeatable clarity, best-in-class imaging options, and a stunning ultra-bright HD screen. There's more to explore, only with Humminbird.
Jumbo stripers along the North Jersey coast this week, scattered, it seems, in the days leading up to Friday's Manhattan Cup. In our reports this week at thefisherman.com, we have word of a 19-pound bluefish popping up in the North Jersey coast. Sea bass action turns hot and heavy, while our friends at the Commerce Department have virtually destroyed the 2025 bluefin fishery because, believe it or not, there are too many bluefin. And of course, then there's the Death Star. The Empire has struck back. I'm Jim Hutchinson with a New Jersey, Delaware Bay edition of the Fisherman magazine. Those are the headlines we're going to cover this week in a rather extensive weekly video fishing forecast for this week, Thursday, June 5th. And we will lead off this week's video fishing forecast with news on the Manhattan Cup on Friday, because if you're thinking about fishing that tournament, you really only have today to figure that out. Subscribers, you saw the Manhattan Cup rundown in this week's digital edition that came out on Monday in a news brief. But anglers, you can register in teams of 2 to 4 per boat. And if you have a boat and a couple of buddies, by all means, sign up now. I'm sure the Manhattan Cup organizers would love to be able to put a wounded warrior, on your boat, because that's what this event is all about. A total catch and release event. The Manhattan Cup hosts dozens of post-combat veterans. They're joining the ranks of the best captains and anglers and generous sponsors alike. Award categories are for bait, fly, artificials for both angler and captain, largest in each category. There's also a VIP award and wounded warrior version as well. It's a great event. Captains who've registered or donated their boat to this event, the check-in is at 6:30 a.m. on Friday. They're at the registration desk right to the right of the entrance to the Liberty House restaurant. This whole event is based out of Liberty Landing Marina, of course. Anglers, you'll be checking in at 7 a.m. I'll be there probably 6:15 or so. Got some things to do. There's a captain's meeting and breakfast soon after. Great breakfast. Load up on the bacon. You need that protein to be fishing on Friday. Then the boats will depart at 8:15 a.m. You fish all into the afternoon. You got to be back at Liberty Landing by 4 p.m. If you want some details on Friday's event, I'll be there. I can't wait. Jenni's going to be there with me. You can call Mike Dean at 917-873-6651, or of course, just go to manhattancup.com. Now, the weather for Friday's event looks pretty tasty. Temperatures going up into the 80s by the afternoon. And when we look at the inshore marine forecast, it looks like the boats that are fishing that tournament should be able to take advantage of some nice ocean conditions well into the early part of the afternoon. Most of the part of Friday, I think. The winds are going to come up a little bit out of the southwest, which if you're fishing tight, looking for some of those stripers, which are scattered. Again, I mentioned this last week. I was talking about how great the fishery could be until July, and all of a sudden the fish say, oh yeah, Hutchinson, we're disappearing. So good luck this weekend. But again, better conditions Friday, Saturday and Sunday coast-wide looks to be very fishable as well, whether you're on the near inshore grounds or fluking in the back bays and salty rivers. Now, your offshore marine forecast as of Wednesday morning of this week from the Hudson Canyon to the Baltimore, variable winds on Saturday and Sunday, less than 10 knots it looks like. With 4 to 6 on Saturday, 3 to 5 on Sunday. So there is a little bit of a groundswell, but it's worth keeping an eye on as you head into early next week. I mean, if the seas are dropping from Saturday and to Sunday, it might be a beautiful time to get out there come Monday. We had a good report from Captain Cody and the Jersey Nuts crew this week. Quote, New Jersey offshore action is a go. First trip for the 61 into the blue water last week. A ton of bluefin, apparently. They also caught a yellowfin and mahi. The crew said, quote, there were more yellowfin there for sure. We found the perfect water late in the day before a long ride home. Long ride home, and Cody and crew, they're either running out of Atlantic City or Point Pleasant, but that typically means the southern canyons. Jason at Fisherman Supply and Point said there are bluefin around 30 pounds at the southwest corner of the Hudson, with side trackers and wide trackers leading to a few bigger bluefin along the Barnegat Ridge, believe it or not, and Little Italy as well. The problem, of course, is the bulletin that was released by NOAA Fisheries last week, drastically cutting back the angling category and for higher communities limits on bluefin tuna. I put the chart on the screen so you can see, comparatively speaking, where we stood in 2024 at this time. Private vessels had a 2-school bluefin limit, a pair of tuna from 27 to less than 47 inches, and one from 47 to 73. Now, if you were a passenger on a charter boat, there were 3 school bluefin, while headboat passengers finally had a reasonable access to this fishery again after decades. 12 school bluefin and a couple of 47 to 73 inches for all anglers on board to share the bounty. Now, this season, the surprise announcement from NOAA last week, 1 measly 27 to less than 47-inch fish. For HMS permit holders in the private angler category, that's it. Charter and party boats, if you're on one of those vessels, of course, you get 2 of these school tuna, and no one in the angling community at this point, as we're doing this video, is allowed to take a bluefin tuna over 47 inches. Now, these new regulations that were announced by NOAA Fisheries last week took effect as of Tuesday of this week. Now, why the change? I'm glad you asked. Many folks, especially folks that are outside the fishing community, they might see a drastic reduction like this and say, well, there must be a problem with the bluefin population. The government is concerned about the decreasing biomass. No, actually, it's the opposite. There are too many bluefin and not enough quota. That's the bottom line. The Large Pelagic Survey, acronym LPS. In 2024, the LPS showed anglers caught too many bluefin for the amount of quota we were granted. So as a result, as more bluefin tuna are showing up in our waters, as more people go out and get geared up to fish for bluefin, according to the LPS, you're going over your quota, and there's just not enough quota to go around. So until the United States of America, our government, shakes more of that bluefin quota free from other countries, mind you, because these guys are involved in a global diplomacy to figure out which countries get this Atlantic bluefin. But until we get some more quota free for our community, this is what's going to happen. In next week's weekly edition, I have a write-up about this bluefin bedlam with a few quotes to share from leading advocates who are trying to fight to get some more bluefin tuna. And our own federal government. Who knows, we could see a fix. I don't know, before this video wraps up, because I do know that our activists in the recreational community are fighting like heck to try to square this up. Now, ICCAT, I-C-C-A-T, that's the International Commission for the Conservation of Atlantic Tunas. That's pretty much like the United Nations of pelagics, where all nations sharing Atlantic waters, they negotiate quota with all the different countries for billfish, shark, and tuna. There were some tuna meetings this week held under ICCAT, and I know our advocates have been pushing really hard to try to free up some more quota. So until we find out otherwise, that's where we stand. So I'd keep your fingers crossed as you keep your eyes on the spread. Regrettably, it has had an immediate impact as the Manasquan River Marlin and Tuna Club has already canceled their 2025 Bluefin Open scheduled for later this month, citing that reduction in bag. Just having that 1 school bluefin, it's hard to have a tournament when you don't have any overs. For fish sausage stuffing fans who want to learn more, I've got some additional political intrigue and intel related to fisheries later on this week. At the end of the program, because there was a hearing on Capitol Hill on Wednesday where many of us had hoped that this topic of bluefin tuna was going to be brought up before members of Congress. It wasn't. Yeah, they didn't say anything. I mentioned that stripers have scattered a bit. Should have bit my tongue last week, as I said before, because that's when I was saying, oh, we've had bluefin, or we've had good striper reports into July in years past, and all of a sudden this week they're a little bit scattered. First week of June, many of those jumbo catch and release striper guys in Monmouth County are scratching their heads trying to figure out where these fish have gotten to, and hopefully they haven't all pushed east at this point, although I am hearing that south of Montauk or around the Montauk area, it's a pretty good bite right now. So I'm hoping not all of our stripers moved east, but we are still getting some decent reports along the beaches. I received a message from Vincent Voro. He said Jack Byrne was in North Wildwood. Young man soaking clams last week, had his first ever striper. Way to go, Jack. Out of Sea Isle Bait and Tackle, Mike reported that Fran and family had quite the crowd that had assembled around them after scoring this striper on clam. Folks dropping a clam on circle hook and dead sticking in the wash. The opportunity does exist to hook up with a striper, and of course, you might hook up with one of these black drum that are on the migration as well. They seem to be popping up here and there. You never know where they're going to pop up. In fact, heading up into Atlantic County, Andy at Riptide Bait and Tackle in Brigantine said Kevin and his gang picked up some clam, aka Riptide Rotters. Before heading up to the Brigantine Surf this week, they found a half dozen of these boomers up to 30 pounds. Andy said it was a bit slow in the surf to start the week, but you never know when things are going to turn around for the better, and the betterer, and the bestest. You got to put in your time. The American anglers hosted their annual Grand Slam fishing tournament on the beaches of LBI this past weekend, and there are clearly a few good fish left to be found. Nick Figaro caught and released this 46.5-inch 30-pounder. Caught and released. It was taken there along the tournament stretch in LBI. Quickly switching gears for just a moment. And speaking about LBI, by all accounts, my home stretch there on LBI is producing rather well. Not just striped bass, but a fluke bluefish, but also a surprisingly good fluke bite in the wash as well. I got a message last week from Simon Bartlett, who dragged a rug up out of the LBI surf using a 5-inch pearl white jerk shad. This big fish, this big fluke. I can't call it a doormat. It's got to hit 10 pounds for that, but we'll call it a rug. 29 inches, weighed in at 8.12 pounds at Fisherman's headquarters. Same thing farther north you go. In fact, Bayville's Kat Kenny had her first ever fluke while fishing Island Beach in windy conditions this past weekend. Taped out at 24 inches, weighed in at 5.5 pounds at Grumpy's. In the email, Kat said, quote, "Picture of me and dinner that night. Dinner looks great. I'm looking forward to seeing that same dinner this weekend as well." If you're looking for meals, fluke obviously is atop many angler lists here in New Jersey, but you also have black sea bass, which is still open with a 10-fish bag limit through June 19th, and plenty of headboats are on the hunt all along the Jersey shore right now looking for those biscuits. Lara DiLorenzo Sims jigged up a pool winner on the Norma Kay recently, jigged it up. And then that's certainly on that slow pitch jig, the bucktails, the spros, or any type of jig, you're apt to catch some of those bigger humpback sea bass, but they're always going to rig you up with clams out there and you can just bail away. So black sea bass is in play, and honestly from the reports we're getting, especially Central and North Jersey, sea bass fishing has been excellent on the artificial reefs. Ocean water temps, by the way, on the uptick a little bit. Tuesday at Atlantic City was about 60.8 degrees. By Wednesday at 61.5. So more of this warm weather hopefully increase those water temperatures closer to the 70-degree mark with a little bit more sun and warmth. And that, of course, will lead to other opportunities. But still good temps for chasing stripers right now this week. Out back, in the back bays, and also along the ocean front. More comfortable in the mornings, too. Those prime hours before anybody else is out on the beach, especially if you're looking to get out with a fly rod and not have anybody bother you. The folks at Giglio's and Seabright reported that Wayne here scored a striper on the fly, his very first fly outing. A great start towards a new addiction. Another convert, somebody who's becoming quickly addicted to fly fishing, is Jenni Ackerman. And on this week's Open Boat, Jenni is taking you on a field trip of sorts to catch fish on the fly in one of the prettiest stretches of trout waters anywhere in the tri-state region.
Hey guys, welcome to this week's Open Boat. Before I start, yes, I do have really bad allergies, so you're going to have to hear nasally Jen this whole episode, but we have a very special episode for you guys this week. You're coming fishing with me on the fly. We have traveled out of state to the upper Delaware, and we're going to try to fly fish for some trout, and I'm going to wrap up like a super nice little episode for you and hopefully convert you guys into fly fishermen, because that's what happened to me. If you remember, I went to Long Island for the Kayak episode, and that's what kind of planted the seed with fly fishing, and now I fly fish with a lot of talented people that help me out catch fish along the way, and I am at just a premier spot. It's so pretty up here. The view from my backyard basically here, it's fantastic. And why you should get into fly fishing, I think it's so tranquil. Like for me, naturally, with any type of fishing, I see that as my stress reliever. But fly fishing, it takes like a eloquent skill, basically. It's like a skill within itself just to attempt to fly fish. Like I'm still learning. You're gonna see that. I know there's probably guys who watch my videos that are, you know, like they've been fly fishing their whole lives. I've only done it for less than a year now, so you're gonna probably see my mistakes, but I'm learning. That's the biggest thing. You learn and you grow and you get better. You do that with everything, but fly fishing has a lot to offer. I mean, it's just, you can go to these breathtaking places and just learn so much about a rich fishery that is not just the ocean. You have these beautiful rivers and streams and these little tiny creeks where these trout are just hanging out, and you're gonna find them in like the least expected spots, and just, it's so cool catching them, especially on the fly. Like it's just so much fun. It's like the lightest tackle you can imagine. You're like finessing the fish. You have just a way of how you're casting, and just, it's something to consider if you wanted to get into it. Instead of having cabin fever all winter, you can literally go fly fishing. I mean, I did that literally like the beginning of March, right after my birthday. I went fly fishing, like before anyone was really doing anything, and still, you know, cabin fever mode. But it gives you that outlet to just go and just explore and just find these beautiful places and catch these beautiful like native trout. They're just beautiful, and it gives you peace of mind too for what's out there, because fishing can open a lot of doors. And of course, if you're, you know, just a surf guy, or you go out on a boat, you're just going to the ocean. But if you do freshwater fly fishing, you go to beautiful places like where I'm at today, where I'm showing you. It's just like breathtaking, the things you see out here, and just being connected with nature, and just hearing all these birds and seeing all the bugs and the hatches and just all the trout coming up and feeding on the surface. It's just awesome, and you're just chilling, and it's just you, and it's so tranquil. So enough of my nature girl jibber jabber, and let's get into the episode. Perfect. No.
Austin has a fish on. It's a big fish. Okay, boss. Holy smokes, that's huge.
White tips.
This is a good spot to wade because it's not super deep for me. Because I get a little silly on rocks. Whoa. This is like baseball players when they're mic'd up. They just say anything. They're fly fishing. There we go, it popped off. Back to wet fly shenanigans. You let more line out. Give me some dough to work with. So what I'm doing is I'm wet flying. So I'm mending, keeping my line tight to the water, and hoping as I swing, a trout hits it. Huh? Like this, right? Lighter? We're gonna keep working this and see what happens. Mend. Mend, you just pick your line up and you bring it. Just a little guy. There we go. Just a little guy.
For more than 20 years, anglers everywhere have come to know one thing, that nothing says no to fish bites.
Hey, if you're looking for freshwater reports in the freshwater area, you can check out JB Casper's weekly fishing report. He's got the full report for June in here, but he compiles an extensive freshwater report every week, every weekend, that we post over at thefisherman.com. Subscribers, you have more detail in your digital weekly edition. In fact, the digital weekly edition, I love this cover this week. It's a striper with a freshwater guy. That's Joseph Casal on the cover. He's a Fairfield fishing tackle regular who caught and released this 38-pound striper off Sandy Hook while fishing with his buddy Brian Keating. But Joseph is a freshwater bass pro who's getting ready to compete in the Major League Fishing Toyota Series up on Lake Champlain later this month. So go get him, Joseph. Bring a Bass Pro Championship back home to the Garden State. When you see that digital weekly edition, you subscribers, go to the table of contents. You'll find a digital weekly lowdown, rundown on everything that's in there. How-to columns on surf, inshore, offshore. There's a recipe, news, calendar events, my editor's log, and a full lineup of regional reports. Now, in JB's full report, you'll see more in the flip book if you actually go through the book, because it's there. We still produce it. We still print it. We just don't go to print. You know what I mean? It's not in stores. But every week, JB has Mike Roman's Round Valley Trout Association report. In fact, we received this photo from Mike at Round Valley Trout Association. That's Brian McDonald. He had a 7-pound, 14-ounce Laker taken there at the reservoir the other day. It's a heck of a fishery if you want to try a little variety. New Jersey gets short-shrifted, I guess you'd say, ignored. We've got an incredible freshwater fishery. Those lake trout, we've got muskies and walleye and freshwater salmon. It's a great fishery. If you haven't taken advantage of some of the freshwater options, especially as you go into the northwest portion of the Garden State, I highly recommend you do so. For more on the freshwater options from the valley streams to the Pocono Mountains of Pennsylvania, here's your Pocono Outdoors guy, my good friend, George Schauer.
Well, hey, thanks, Jim. What a difference a week makes. I'll tell you, both anglers and scientists are stunned by the appearance of a glowing yellow orb in the daytime sky. Yeah, I'm kidding, guys, but holy cow, what a crazy May it was. I was listening to one of the local weather guys say something like only 2 days in the last month were rain-free. I was going to call BS, but I had to stop and think he might be right. What a crazy. Look, it was April weather we had to deal with for the entire month of May. Now we're into June and it's breaking free big time, guys. You know, temperatures in the 80s, the water's muddy and it's stained, so it's going to warm up really fast. So we're going to go from like early spring conditions right into summertime really fast. Water temps will be an issue. We got to really keep an eye on that. Water levels should be coming down and getting more reasonable. Patterns are going to change, guys. You know, we're going to be moving into those more summertime patterns. Fish will come out of the coves, maybe out some of the deeper water, hit the points, maybe the flats. We're going to have some good fishing, I think, with those jerk baits. You get up to some of those flats, so those fish moving up to get into bait. So things are going to change quick. I'd really like to see what kind of fish you guys get over the next week. We really didn't have any folks checking in with the weather over the past few days, but you call us, let us know what you're catching, and we'll talk to you next week. Go out and get on them. From Pennsylvania, I'm George, your Pocono Outdoors guy.
was an up and down week in the CKC. After a strong start, Mother Nature fired up the fans and effectively blew out the rest of the week. Still, we had 3 new category leaders landed. Juggernaut David Dew took top honors with the Porgy category with a 16-incher. Alfred Green was back again this week with a category-leading 21-inch tog, and Eddie Roman came in hot with a 23.5-inch weakfish that now sits atop for that species. We had a pair of 19-inch sea bass entered by David Dew and Michael Razazewski. Eddie Roman took over third in the fluke category with a 21.5-incher, and Calvin Chen grabbed second place in flatfish with a 23.25-incher. 2 more third-place fish were landed as well. Veteran competitor Todd Treones logged a 37.75-inch striper, and Tom Sullivan nabbed third place in the scup category at 14 inches.
Hey kayakers, the Fisherman's Coastal Kayak Clash Contest is back. Win this fully outfitted Hobie Mirage Lynx kayak from Yak Attack along with other great prizes. Catch and release as many of these species to be top on the leaderboard. To enter, you must be a subscriber to the Fisherman magazine, fish from a kayak, and document your catch. Many chances to win great prizes, so get out there on the water now and fish hard. To be part of the action, you must be a subscriber and register at thefisherman.com. Here is your Dreamboat update. We have Fernando Lage, New England subscriber of Seymour, Connecticut, weighing in his 5.25-pound weakfish at Dee's Bait and Tackle, placing him third in the weakfish category. Adding to his entry of a weakfish is Thomas Luciano, Long Island subscriber from West Sayville, weighing in his 2.12-pound porgy at Chasing Tails Bait and Tackle, placing him in 5th. The leaderboard stands at Thomas Luciano with 14 points and Michael McGigan and Sean Brownyard sitting at 10 points each for 2nd and 3rd. Are you the best angler in the Northeast? Well, now is your chance to prove it. The Fisherman's Dreamboat Contest is back. Win this Steigercraft center console powered by Yamaha along with these other great prizes. Fish hard and weigh in as many of these species to be top on the leaderboard. What's the catch? You must be a subscriber to the Fisherman magazine. All it takes is one fish on the board to win a great prize, so however you fish, you have a shot. For all the details and official rules, visit thefisherman.com.
Hey, and I'd mentioned before, don't forget that June edition of the Fisherman magazine. It's on newsstands. It's in tackle shops right now. There's a focus on fluke, hence the photo of Captain Scotty Sevens. You've got a Captain Scott Newhall hook set article in the glossy. And then there's some flounder pounding with Eric Burnley out of Delaware. You can use all those same tactics wherever you are in New Jersey. Of course, one of my favorite articles in that edition is the Bay Slam piece from Nick Honicheski. That's on page 26. That's if you're going after summer flounder, bluefish, fluke, and weakfish all in the same trip. It's the perfect time of year to do so because all 4 of those species are in the back bay. So if you want to make a challenge of it, see if you can't get that slam. Sure, they're here. You think the weakfish aren't around. 1 fish bag limit. Nobody's going for them. But those unicorns are here. Christian Gresco caught and released this beautiful weakfish in Cape May last week. So yeah, it's time to break out those pinkies, those soft plastic pink baits, the zooms, the pink zooms, the bubblegum zoom, or the pink finesse. In our calendar of events this week, taken from the pages of the Fisherman magazine, the Manhattan Cup on Friday, as I mentioned. You also have the Mid-Atlantic Kayak Open, which runs Friday and Saturday out of Little Lake Harbor. You can go to tupperwarenavy.org for details on that. Also in Little Lake Harbor is the 6th annual Ragin' Raymond Fluke Tournament this Saturday and Sunday. That's based out of the American Legion. On the post is 493. I believe that's on Radio Road. Call Alex at 609-845-7653. You also have on Sunday free fishing days in New Jersey, June 7th. No freshwater license is required. There are quite a few community events going in conjunction with that free fishing day. A lot of Hofnod events, hooked on fishing, not on drugs. One of them in Atlantic County, the Atlantic County Coalition in Mays Landing. That's on Sunday from 10 a.m. till 1 p.m. And that's all designed to keep kids safe, keep them off drugs, and bring a few more fishermen into our fishing family. Congratulations to Captain Akira Hayashi from True World Tackle. Captain Akira is retiring. True World in Bayonne is actually going through an ownership change right now, but that's good news for anglers in the community, because when True World was looking to sell, we didn't know if we were going to have True World in Bayonne still there, but it is still there. But Akira is going to be stepping away, and that's sad. We've been talking with Akira for so long, getting fishing reports, helping us out, helping out all his customers. I appreciate the many years talking to Akira about our Hudson River fishery, and I hope now that you're retired, you will get more opportunity to enjoy that fishery as opposed to standing behind the counter and dealing with the bait and tackle end, because that's a nonstop job. Also, congratulations to the folks at Eagle Claw. I just learned that the American hook manufacturers from Colorado, the first, by the way, to produce those bait holder style circle hooks for striped bass when you're worming, they also went to great lengths a few years ago to get brand new wide gap hooks out to our community when we were trying to reduce the release mortality rate on summer flounder in the Garden State. 100 years of operation, a whole century in our industry is something special. Can I say go birds when I'm talking about Eagle Claw? Sorry. Sadly, we are going to switch gears because we also had a tragedy this past weekend, and this one affected a lot of us very, very big time. A young friend of ours, my prayers this week to the Creekside family, hardcore fisherman, Creekside staffer Liam Deller, provided many of our weekly reports here at the Fisherman magazine from the Waretown Barnegat area. His tragic loss has hit many folks quite hard. It's always a shame when a young man of this age he passes. I don't even know what to say. It's always difficult to say this, but all I can say is to friends and family, to the Deller family, my condolences, my prayers are to every one of the Creekside staffers. I enjoyed talking to Liam, and it's really going to be sad, his departure. So treat every day, every single day, as if it's your last. The House Committee on Natural Resources held a hearing on Wednesday. Yeah, we're going to stuff sausages now, folks, so if you don't like politics, I guess we'll see you later. The House Committee held a hearing. It was the Natural Resources Committee. So they held a hearing, invited some witnesses to talk about President Trump's recent executive order restoring American seafood competitiveness. Recreational fishing interests were on that panel of experts. It included Captain Rick Bellavance of Rhode Island, who is one witness, and also Martha Gaius from the American Sport Fishing Association. Now, a few weeks back, I editorialized in the Fisherman magazine. My editor's log was called "Don't Forget About Me." On April 17th, President Trump issued an executive order, gave the Secretary of Commerce 30 days to do this, quote, identify the most heavily overregulated fisheries requiring action and take appropriate action to reduce the regulatory burden on them. Yet 42 days later, NOAA Fisheries heavily overregulates our bluefin tuna fishery and places an undue regulatory burden on our recreational fishing community. Regrettably, bluefin tuna did not come up at all in Wednesday's hearing. Snapper, snapper, snapper. We're hoping to find out some good news. I know some friends are still working behind the scenes on working this out. Very disappointing to see the commercial seafood gets top billing, and when it comes to bluefin seafood that we bring home on our center consoles, we get shut out of the equation. Let's hope that changes. Another presidential order came when the Trump administration instituted a pause on the Empire Wind 1 project located 18 miles east of Long Branch. Industrial offshore wind opponents like myself, we cheered the news as the Equinor project south of Long Island to run power cable into Brooklyn, New York was stopped. Well, the Trump administration backtracked on that order in May, and the work is now plowing forward, literally. Keep an eye out for the 662-foot Panamanian flagged Thjalf, I don't know, it's a Norwegian vessel flagged by Panama, and it's known colloquially as the Death Star. So that's what I'm going to go, which as of Wednesday night, the Death Star was set up there at the Empire Wind lease site. A lawsuit was filed this week led by Protect Our Coast New Jersey, Clean Ocean Action, thank you Cindy, Act for Whales, and a coalition of seafood operations, civic leaders, and fishing families to reinstate the April 16th stop work order, which the Trump administration lifted on May 15th. Godspeed, my friends. Godspeed with that lawsuit. Your weekly dose of fish stuffing sausages is over. So now it's time to start focusing on stuffing some of those fresh fluke fillets, perhaps with some fresh blue claw crab, because the blue claws are starting to get active as well. Just pay no attention to that man behind the curtain. He's the one in Philly and New York flipping the coin to come up with this weekend's weather forecast. It doesn't look, to me, like much rain at all on Saturday and Sunday, if any. A little sprinkle here and there. So I'm giving the weekend ahead 4 out of 5 bucktails for those of you heading out to the fluke grounds. Finally this week on the marine mammal side of things, not really related to wind, I don't know, but Curtis Walrath sent this to me this week in the right place, right time department. While fishing for drum at Island Beach, he had a rather startling encounter with a dolphin. Curtis thinks she may have gotten caught by a wave and struggled on a sandbar. Curtis said, quote, "I stayed with her after another gentleman contacted a few people at the office. I wound up walking her out as far as possible. No easy task with the hard breakers and 60-degree water soaking you from ears to toes, but nothing short of a miracle. I think she made it out fine." Curtis went on to say he was hoping that karma would be his friend after that. No good deed goes unpunished. Saving Flipper perhaps brought him success with a boomer. Help a dolphin in need, bang a black drum on the beach. See you Friday, Manhattan Cup. I'll be on Jersey Devil, but I sure hope to see you there. Big award for Captain John Raguso. Love the event. And then I'm going to be back fluking early Saturday morning. Catch him up. We'll see you again next week right here at thefisherman.com.